Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Today's lesson, we're going to cover Satan's pattern 2. If you remember, when I did Satan's pattern, one act I left out of it. And just to put it on the screen here so you can see it, you have 9 acts of Satan's pattern. Okay? And the 6th act we didn't cover, and I said I would do a video on it at a later date. But the 6th act is that Satan would produce food that would kill. And that's what we're going to cover, this food that Satan has produced that will kill. And as you see, Act 6 is broken down into 6 parts, okay? And the first part is MSG, then you have high fructose corn syrup, GMOs, aspartame, unclean factories, and he would cause people to not eat prepared food and cause them thus to go to cheap restaurants that are unclean and unhealthy. Okay, so to first start this off, I want you to turn to a very key scripture here, and this scripture is in Proverbs chapter 23. Proverbs chapter 23 verse 1 through 8. When thou sittest to eat with a ruler, consider diligently what is before thee. Put a knife to thy throat, if thou be a man given to appetite. Be not desirous of his dainties, for they are deceitful meat. Labor not to be rich. Cease from thine own wisdom. Wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For the riches certainly make themselves wings, and fly as an eagle toward heaven. Eat thou not the bread of him that have an evil eye, neither desire thou his dainty meats. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. The morsel which thou hast eaten shalt thou vomit up, and loose thy sweet words. Okay. Now, what is this talking about here? Okay. Notice it says in this part here, verse 2, put a knife to thy throat if thou be a man given to appetite. Well, the reason why it's saying that is, think about where we are today. We're in the land of our captivity, right? Mm-hmm. And the people who rule this land, do they keep Yah's dietary laws?
Nope. No, they do not.
No, they do not. As a matter of fact, they eat all kinds of stuff that's against Yah's dietary laws. Okay? Not only that, what do you think about the way that they're raising their meat and everything? You think it's kosher?
No.
No. So then that could be bad for you. How? I'll tell you how. First of all, you break Yah's dietary laws. And if matter of fact, if you really do a research on most of the foods that Yah is telling us not to eat in the Old Testament and the law, is foods that's not good for you. Mm-hmm. The people can argue all day long that pork is good for you, and all these different items are good for you. But when you really do your research on these items cause all type of illnesses, especially in the black community.
They were never even meant to be food.
Yeah, they were never. Exactly, they were never meant to be food. So when you sitting up and you eating pork and you praying over pork, and I'll never forget, I was years ago when I used to eat pork, my head was swimming, I was getting nose was bleeding. My daughter's nose was bleeding. My wife's head would be spinning. And we weren't eating like just straight up fat pork. We were eating lean meat and our head was spinning. So based on that, we decided that, man, something going on with this pork, so we started pulling away from it. But we've noticed that a lot of the foods like shrimp and all those items are high in cholesterol. Things that the Most High tell us not to eat, it's reasons for it. It's just not good for you. It's unclean food. It's probably some type of parasite that's burrowing around in the meat, and you're going to cook it and you're going to eat it, and half the time people don't cook their meat, So we just got to be careful, It says, put a knife to your throat if you are a person given to appetite in this land. So in other words, if you have a hearty appetite, you like to eat, oh boy, you better be careful, because you're really killing yourself is what he's trying to say to you. You're killing yourself with your own appetite. Because you'll be sitting there getting a plate full of stuff, and you'll be eating it, you'll be going here getting this food and getting that food there, and it's unhealthy. Now I'm going to prove it to you how unhealthy this food is. And you all out there, I want you to do your research. Take time out and research this stuff for yourself. It's right there on the internet. There are books about it. Research it yourself, okay? This is what we're going to cover here, because it's very important that you understand where I'm coming from, okay? Now, let's look at this, okay? He said, if you be a person given to appetite. Now, if you remember the story of the 3 Hebrew boys, right? And Daniel, you remember that story?
Yes.
Now, they didn't eat the king's meat. They didn't want to eat the king's meat. Let's turn to that for a minute. Let's look at that. That's Daniel chapter 1. And we're going to go to verse 8. And this is what it says. It says, but Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat. Wow. That sounds just like what? The other scripture we just read in Proverbs. Daniel didn't want to defile himself with the king's meat. What else did he not want to defile himself with? What else does it say there? Nor with wine which he drank. Therefore he requested to the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now God had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my master the king, whom have appointed your meat and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse liking than the children which are of your sword? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king. So in other words, he said, man, Daniel, you know, I really care about you and the Hebrew boys, and if I go to the king about this, man, I may get my head chopped off about this. So what to do? And pretty much Daniel just summed it up, and he told him pretty much that hey, let us do a test. Pretty much, we're going to eat vegetables and stuff, and we're going to compare our faces with the other kids' faces, and then you can determine if it's bad for us or not. Now, why didn't they want to eat the king's meat and the king's food? They didn't want to defile themselves. But we sit up in this land and we eat this food all the day long, praying over it, thinking that we're not being defiled. Well, my goodness, if I were to pull up the latest statistics in food and health, you will be shocked. You're going to sit there and tell me you're not defiling yourself, but yet you probably have high blood pressure, you may have sugar diabetes, you may have high cholesterol, you may have worms wiggling around in your head, you know, tumors. I mean, you may have all kinds of stuff going on, and you want to sit there and tell me that you are not being defiled. Some of you even have cancer. And you mean to tell me this food ain't defiling you? Of course it's defiling you. Huh? So let's get out of this thing where you say, well, this New Testament, we're not bound to the dietary laws. Oh, yes, you are. You're bound to the dietary laws, and you better keep them, because that's how you're going to have long life, is if you eat according to Yah's law, not if you eating according to this wicked nation that we live in. Okay? Now, let's look into some of these items here that I got listed here in the acts that Satan is trying to do. He's trying to produce food that will kill us, okay?
Excuse me, please. Thank you. Toasted pastry, cornstarch, soy lecithin, potassium bromate. Potassium bromate? This supermarket is trying to kill us! You! Potassium bromate, do you know what that is?
Are you okay, sir?
It is known to induce renal cell tumors, mesotheliomas of the peritoneum.
Can I call someone for you?
Well, someone, you know what you're putting into our bodies? Death! Delicious strawberry flavored death!
Okay, I'm calling security.
Yes!
Now, the first one is MSG. Okay? MSG is monosodium glutamate. Okay? MSG, here's an article I want you to look at. This article is on Mercola.com. And just to give you a little insight, Dr. Mercola is a known doctor who have done research in all of these dealing with food, basically. He does a lot of research in food. And on his site, he has an article that's called MSG is the silent killer lurking in your kitchen cabinets. Now, I'm gonna tell you something about this MSG. When I first heard about this MSG, there was a minister, we were listening to his CD tape, and he mentioned MSG. And we were like, what in the world is MSG? So we went and started looking up stuff that we had in our cabinets. We had some Doritos on the table at the time. This was some years ago, okay? And we noticed MSG in the Doritos, looked in the cabinets, and my goodness, how much percentage of the food would you say had MSG in it back then?
I would say more than 90% of it.
You hear that? More than 90% of the food we had in our cabinets then had MSG in it. So now you want to know what in the world is this MSG that Dr. Mercola is talking about here. He says this lurking about, this silent killer, this lurking about in your kitchen cabinet. Well, let's look into this and see what this is. In this article, there's a topic here. It says, what exactly is MSG? Okay. This is what it says. It says, you remember when MSG powder called Accent? You remember the powder called Accent?
Yeah.
People used to buy it all the time to accent their flavor, their food, their steaks. Mm-hmm. Okay, that was MSG. It first hit the market and in the U.S., and it was actually decades prior to this, in 1908, the MSG, monosodium glutamate, was invented. The inventor was a Japanese fella who identified this natural flavor enhancing substance out of seaweed. Okay, so that's where it come from seaweed. Okay, now, basically, taking a hint from this substance, they were able to create a man-made additive called MSG, and he and a partner went on to form Ajinomoto, which is now the world's largest producer of MSG, okay, which is a drug manufacturer. Okay, they're drugging your food, see? Chemically speaking, MSG is approximately 78% free glutamate acid, 21% sodium, and up to 1% contaminants. It is a misconception that MSG is a flavor or meat tenderizer. In reality, MSG has very little taste at all. Yet when you eat MSG, you think that the food you're eating has more protein and tastes better. It does this by tricking your tongue. Basically, what MSG does is it sends these chemicals to your brain. Okay, and it affects your tongue, and it makes you actually think that the item tastes better. Okay, that's what it does. Okay, now we're going to go on beyond some of this. The Food and Drug Administration, they approved it back in 1959. Now, Do your research on this MSG. Now, I'm going to tell you why this MSG is so dangerous, okay? This is what it says here. It says, one of the best overviews on the very dangerous product of MSG comes from Dr. Russell Blaylock, on a board-certified neurosurgeon, the author of Antitoxins, The Taste That Kills is the name of the book. In his book, he explains that MSG is an excitotoxin, which means it overexcites your cells to the point of damage or death, causing brain damage to various degrees, and potentially even triggering or worsening learning disabilities, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, Lou Gehrig's disease, and more. So now you wonder where this ADHD is coming from.
Right.
Isn't that something? Okay, so do your research on this MSG, and I guarantee you go in there, you check your kitchen cabinets, you're going to see MSG, monosodium glutamate, or you're going to see sodium glutamate. All of that is MSG. You may see certain, it may say something like natural flavoring. That's also a disguise for MSG. And guess what? You're going to find it in most of your products that's in your kitchen cabinets. Okay? So what that led me and my family to do here, we started making our own sauces, our own mixes, and our own everything, using real salt, real pepper, real seasonings.
Sea salt.
Yeah, and real sea salt, exactly, yes. And instead of using their chemicals to make things, so we make things ourselves, okay, to avoid using any type of MSG, okay. You know what I found pretty strange, okay? I had got something from a family member of mine that was some MSG free, sort of like a flavoring for food. And it said on the package MSG free, right? But it had another item on that was listed in the ingredients. So I decided to look that other item up, and it was another name for MSG. I said, so man, so they tell everybody we don't have monosodium glutamate in there, but we have this sodium glutamate, which is the same type of stuff. I said, oh man, that's just crazy. So you can't go back if you see something that says no MSG. The best way around is just buy basic seasons and season everything yourself. Okay? Get away from beef bouillon cubes, all that stuff got MSG in it. Okay? Chicken bouillon cubes, any type of flavoring, anything that's enhancing any type of flavoring, get away from it. Okay? Now, and guess what? The government put it out there. How about that? Now it makes you wonder when you hear stories about the government wants to depopulate. I wonder if this is one of the ways they decided to depopulate. Because since the time the MSG has hit the market strong, cancer has shot up. And all of these illnesses that's spoken about here have shot up. So let's go to the next one now. The next one is high fructose corn syrup. Okay. Now, I have another article here. This one is another one from Mercola.com, and it's called The Dangers of High Fructose Corn Syrup. Okay. High fructose corn syrup is so dangerous. I try to tell people about this stuff. Matter of fact, you know what amazes me? I've talked to people about this, high fructose corn syrup. I've talked to them about MSG. I've talked to them about aspartame. And do you know the number of times that I would be talking on the phone with somebody and they'd be drinking something? I say, what you drinking? And they would tell me, I say, why don't you look on the side of that and tell me if you see aspartame? And they'll say, ASPARTAME. And they say, oh, yeah, it's in it. I say, yeah, remember I was talking to you before about aspartame and how it's destroying your brain cells, how this stuff is highly dangerous? I said, remember when I was telling you about, oh, this is the stuff you were talking about? I'll be sitting there scratching my head like, man, this is what, the third time I've talked to you about it? And you still content on just chug-a-lugging this stuff down your throat. You know, this stuff is causing problems in rats and other lab animals, and you still content on just drinking and stuff. And then you wonder why half the time we're sick with illnesses. We don't refuse on putting this stuff aside and not eating it. You know, we want to keep eating it. Okay? So then what are we doing then when we continue to keep eating this stuff when the scripture tells us not to? And we're going to what? Reap what we sow, right? You're going to reap what you sow. So you can sit there and say this stuff good for you all day long, pray over it and eat it. But if it's causing you illness, eventually it's going to have its toll on you, and you are going to continue to develop lumps in your system, tumors, and all kinds of other stuff. Okay, high fructose corn syrup. Okay, the HFCS. Okay, research has shown that highly processed fructose in high fructose corn syrup contributes far more to obesity and insulin resistance syndrome than simple table sugar. Okay? In animal studies, high fructose corn syrup have found to produce insulin resistance, impaired glucose tolerance, high insulin levels, high triglycerides, and high blood pressure. These are the things that was caused in lab animals. Okay, so now you got to ask yourself: you want to continue to consume this stuff, and these are the symptoms that's being caused in these animals. Now let's read a little further what it says here about high fructose corn syrup. It says consuming high fructose corn syrup also contributes to fat deposits in your liver, what they refer to as a fatty liver. Anybody out there got a fatty liver? And increases the buildup of dangerous lipoproteins, part of cholesterol deposits in your blood vessel walls. This leads to a plaque buildup and narrowing of your blood vessels, which increase susceptibility to both strokes and heart attacks. Man, high fructose corn syrup is causing this? Well, guess what? I'm going to challenge you, okay? You all out there that like to drink these sweet drinks and stuff, right? I dare you to do the research, okay? Next time you go to the store and you buy something to drink, check that pop that you're drinking. I'm willing to bet you it's either going to have high fructose corn syrup in it or aspartame. One or the other.
Not to mention the fact that high fructose corn syrup is made out of GMO corn.
Say it a little louder.
Not to mention that high fructose corn syrup is made out of GMO corn.
Did you hear that? Not to mention high fructose corn syrup is made out of GMO corn. So, oh my goodness, so you getting like a double whammy with high fructose corn syrup. And you know what's amazing? It's in everything. It's in foods. You think that it's only in your drinks? Go and buy some bread and look at your bread.
And cereal.
Oh my, and cereal, yes, exactly. If you go look at cold cereal, I guarantee you'll be surprised that almost every box of cereal has high fructose corn syrup. You go to the bread shelf and look at breads, right? And almost all of your breads have what? High fructose corn syrup in it. Recent study has proven that high fructose corn syrup is even the culprit behind gout. My goodness. So this stuff is highly dangerous to us. But basically these articles, I'm going to post the links to them, and I may even post the PDF link so that you can download this one PDF about high fructose corn syrup so that you'll be able to read some of this stuff for yourself. This stuff is completely dangerous and it's horrible. And this is some of the stuff that Satan has done. And like I said before, he needed a people to push this.
It's all approved by the government too, so hey.
Approved by our government. Food Drug Administration. How about that? So then what do that tell you about your government?
They're trying to depopulate. They need some people going up off this earth.
No, they love us though.
Yeah, that's what some of us.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of us think. We think the government is looking out for us and that they're trying to protect us. I
Exactly.
hear people say that kind of stuff very often, and they seem shocked when you tell them the truth that
That's right.
they don't really care anything about you. They want you gone.
That's right. So in essence, I'm putting this video together hoping that this will spark some of you all out there that will go and do your research on these foods. Get into this yourself, read this stuff up for yourself, and don't take my word for it. Just do your own research, okay? GMOs. Well, I mean, my goodness, do I really need to go there about GMOs? It's already been proven how bad GMOs is, you know.
Genetically modified food.
Genetically modified foods. It's obvious. I mean, they got already showing lab rats with all types of tumors. If you remember when I showed Satan's Pattern 1, I showed pictures of the lab rats. They're swelling up with all types of tumors on them. And like I was saying about the aspartame, I meant to mention this. Around the time that we first moved here, we had found these little sugary, flavorful drinks. They had aspartame in them. I didn't know nothing about aspartame at the time. And we were mixing these water jugs with them and drinking these little drinks around the house here. They were really good, sweet, tasty drinks, you know.
But it was good, though.
Yeah, it was so good. And then I noticed after a while, I mean, I must have drank that stuff for about a year, you know. I started noticing my head started hurting, didn't I? Mm-hmm. You know. And I kept getting these, each time I would drink it, I started getting these headaches, you know. And I was like, man, what's going on? So that prompted me to do some research into aspartame, and that's when I realized that this stuff was bad for us. Mm-hmm. But it makes me wonder, too, if that's when this showed up, you know. Mm-hmm. And what I'm speaking of is I had a little lump that appeared on the back of my head back here. And it makes me wonder if it showed up right during that time when I was drinking a lot of aspartame. So we just got to be careful of this stuff that we're eating and we're drinking, you know. Now back to the GMO foods, okay? There's an article on the internet that's called 10 Reasons to Avoid GMO Foods, okay? First reason is obvious, it's unhealthy. Anything that's genetically modified is unhealthy for you.
Right.
You know, I hear they even producing rice, the synthetic rice in some countries. That sounds crazy, a synthetic rice? You know?
Consumption?
Yeah, it's just crazy, you know. I mean, they're making burgers out of feces now. I mean, there's actually videos that look. Don't take my word for it. Research it up for yourself. Yeah, they're feces burgers. You know, they try to make feces burgers.
There's fly burgers too.
Fly burgers and just burgers
They're full of protein.
full of protein.
We should try one.
My goodness, let me tell you something. I'm quite sure that if we were to go out in the field and dig up a huge lump of manure, that there's probably a lot of protein in that manure, right? You think we supposed to eat that?
No.
You know what I'm saying? We ain't supposed to eat that stuff. Who cares if it's full of protein? You know, I'm quite sure that a frog got protein in it.
Corpses got protein.
A corpse got protein in it. We supposed to eat it because it got protein in it, huh? Man, that's just warp. Number 2 was GMOs or GMO foods contaminate forever. That simply means that once it's genetically modified and you get this cross-contamination, cross-pollination of seeds and from bees going from plant to plant, we got to keep that in mind, you know. GMO increases the use of herbicides. Mm-hmm. Well, do you really want to eat something that's being sprayed down by something that's meant to kill bugs?
No. You might as well just get a can of Raid and open your mouth and start spraying.
Exactly. Why not just go get a can of Raid and just drink it then? If you're gonna eat corn and stuff that's sprayed by the stuff. And I'm gonna be honest with you all and listen to me on this, okay? Corn is genetically modified. 99% of the corn that's being sold over the shelves of the supermarkets are genetically modified. Okay, 99%. Which reason why we stop actually eating corn? Unless we don't grow it, we don't eat it. You know, because it's genetically modified. So I'm telling you all for a reason. Do your research. You know, This corn is in everything, okay? You go to the store, you buy cornmeal, genetically modified. We order organic cornmeal when we buy cornmeal, okay? So then you got genetically modified flour and wheat and all this. All of this stuff coming from the store basically is like this. So I guarantee you, when you get done with this study here and you go to supermarkets, your list is going to dwindle down to probably
only a handful of things you can buy.
Yeah, only a handful of things you can actually get from the supermarket. You know, because even your tomatoes and things like that are vegetables that you get from the supermarket, a lot of that stuff, they're spraying them down. I was told that a lot of tomatoes they use gas on them, helium I think it is, on tomatoes to cause them to get red faster. That's why they don't have any flavor. You get tomatoes from the store, they don't have no flavor. You grow your own tomatoes and eat them, big difference, you see. And I know some of you all out there say, yeah, but my supermarket is different, you know. My supermarket don't sell that kind of, my stuff is, we got the best food ever at the supermarket.
Grain-fed pigs.
keep
hitting the snooze button on your brain.
Keep brainwashing your own mind, okay?
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you that your supermarket has this junk in it too.
This supermarket is trying to kill us.
99% of the supermarkets in the United States, unless it's an organic supermarket, they even came out that even Whole Foods had items at their places they were claiming that were supposed to have been GMO free, wasn't.
But they sliding them right in under our noses.
Exactly. So we got to remember that, okay? Genetic engineering creates dangerous side effects. The government oversight is dangerously laxed. Biotech industry uses tobacco science. Independent research and reporting is attacked and suppressed. So in other words, when people go out and they do their own research on GMOs, their research gets what? Suppressed or attacked. By who? The government.
And people who own these factories and companies.
Exactly. They don't want that information coming out there. Attack you like crazy when you come out with this information. You see? GMOs harm our environment is number 8. Number 9, it says GMO do not increase yields. Which means what?
That was a lie that they put out some time ago, that if they genetically modified things, that it would increase production.
Exactly.
Which is a lie. It was only meant to kill the soil.
That's
a lot
right.
of soil here in America now is unusable and unplantable because it's been killed by these herbicides.
That's right. Another thing too. That's right. Another thing I know is about this genetically modified food. They're modifying these foods a certain way so that they don't yield seeds.
Right.
Why do you think they don't want them to yield seeds?
So you have to depend on them for the seeds.
So you have to depend on them for the seeds.
You can't keep and save your seeds and reuse them.
That's right. As a matter of fact, I was reading somewhere it said certain vegetables that even produce seeds, they seeds won't even grow into any type of plant because they genetically modify so the seeds won't even do anything.
It's called a Terminator seed.
The Terminator seed. Look it up. It's on the internet. Look it up. So basically, you know, you can go read this article about the GMOs and everything. Now, the 4th item here is aspartame. Now, let's get to this aspartame one here. Okay. What is aspartame? Here's this article here. Let me bring this article up for you.
It's an artificial sweetener.
That's right. Aspartame, by far the most dangerous substance added to most foods today. That's what the article says. This is on Mercola.com also, and I'm going to give you the link to it, okay? But basically, it talks about how this aspartame is causing all types of problems. Okay, now listen to some of the symptoms here that it talks about, okay? Headaches and migraines, dizziness, seizures, nausea, numbness, muscle spasms, weight gain, rashes, depression, fatigue, insomnia, vision problems, hearing loss, breathing difficulties, anxiety attacks, slurred speech, loss of taste, vertigo, memory loss, joint pain, brain tumors, multiple sclerosis, epilepsy, chronic fatigue syndrome, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, mental retardation, lymphoma, birth defects, fibromyalgia, diabetes. These are all the things that's caused by aspartame. So do you think it's worth that sweet taste?
No.
I mean, some people out there may think it's worth it. I mean, them drinks were really sweet. I personally don't think it's really worth it. I think we should come as far away from this stuff as we can. But you know what's sad about this? As many times as I've talked to people about these particular items, they don't take heed. It's like going in one ear and out the other. I get people on the phone that I talk to, even relatives, and I've told them about these things, and I guarantee you, they'll get off the phone with me, won't go in there and check their cabinets, and they'll go right back to eating and doing the same thing again. A year later, I mentioned it to them again. They sound like they never heard it before. Oh, really? Oh man, I didn't know that. So I told you last year about it. But they don't remember, and they be right back eating the stuff again, drinking the stuff again. You trying to tell them, and then you hear about them going to the doctor because they got this and got that going on, and you sitting there trying to tell them, man, it's the eat habits.
Why I'm feeling this way?
Yeah, I don't know why I got this lump growing on me here. I don't know why my head is all spinning. But you keep praying over the stuff, blessing the stuff, and eating it anyhow, right? Man, that's almost like
I tell you, them prayers ain't working.
You know what? Let me ask you something, okay? If you can just pray over anything and eat it, then so I can go and get a bowl of some very flavorful strychnine powder that you can sprinkle right over your rice and butter. Flavorful your rice up, and you can pray over it and eat it. It ain't gonna kill you, right?
Get a bowl of mercury.
Yeah, a bowl of mercury. You know what's really sad about this? They were doing studies. It's either aspartame or MSG has mercury in it.
Wow.
Isn't that something? Mm-hmm. Mercury. Are you kidding me?
But if you pray for it, though, what about if you pray for it?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what we seem to think, huh? If that's the case, we can start making rat stew.
Rat stew?
Come on now.
Dog stew, rat stew, bat stew, cat stew,
baby stew.
Just start eating anything, just pray over it and cook it.
See how warped Christianity has our brains thinking if you pray for it and bless it, it's good.
Exactly.
Chinese people do be over there eating babies and stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they eat some of everything, and the Most High, he never intended for his people to go among these nations and eat the same diet as these people. I mean, my goodness, look in the Old Testament, look in the scriptures. He made it clear it wasn't for us to eat these things,
Just because the government say it's okay to eat something.
Exactly.
Don't mean it's so.
Exactly. So basically, as you can see, there's just so many things that's in the food today. And like I said before, you're going to say, oh my goodness, what in the world can I eat? Well, what this should prompt you to do is actually try to cook your own food. Try to make your own stuff. Try to order organic powders. And when I say powders, I'm talking about flour, organic grains, basically. Cornmeal, flour, and things like that. Rice, for the most part, I haven't found anything pretty much wrong with rice unless you get white rice, So I would keep away from white rice, get long grain rice, But basically, as I said, it's a mess, Satan has gotten out there through his people, okay? And him and his people have put together a plan to try to exterminate mankind, you see? And by putting this food out there, this food that would kill, okay? And not to mention, you got unclean factories that's producing multiple items, some of these cross-contamination of items, and some of these factories are very unclean.
So you got animal feces, rat feces
and stuff like that showing up in food. Matter of fact, one guy had a loaf of bread baked that he brought from the supermarket. They had a rat baked in it. I mean, he hit a mouse.
Old guy had
back
a
then.
mouse in his
Yeah,
where the
that's
blood
right.
was around.
It was a cake. That's right. It's a cake.
Yeah, he got sick.
You got sick from it. That's right. So you got to say to yourself, do you really want to go and get a cake from these places or get anything from these places?
Right.
I know it makes life on you hard, but at least you live longer, right? I mean, it may be a little hard on you trying to do things yourself, but at least you'll live long. And guess what else will happen? You'll begin to lose weight, you know? You'll begin to feel healthier. You won't feel as sluggish, you know, eating all that stuff, you know? So, I mean, my goodness, I think it's worth it, you know? And one of the other problems is this here, you know, he wanted to cause people to eat fast foods. Because what happens when a person, you're so busy and you're like, every day you're busy, I don't have the time to cook. Well, you better make time.
Exactly.
I mean, you better
Do you
make
have
some
time
time
to
to
die?
cook. Yeah, I mean, think about it.
My
You're
thing is this,
saying,
too. People talk about like the cost of buying healthier food, but which costs more? A casket
Yeah.
in a funeral,
or replacing a liver or something, or
placing your heart,
It's expensive to die.
exactly.
surgeries and stuff,
Exactly,
or just buy
surgeries.
some like more expensive food.
Exactly.
Or
Like,
even
3 times
attempt
less
to grow
cheap.
your own.
Exactly. Attempt to grow your own. That's
Raise
right.
your own meats.
That's right.
Go back to
Raise
the
your
way
own
it used
meats.
to be. A lot of our people have family land
Yeah.
that's sitting there going to waste because nobody wants to live on it. Everybody too lazy to work on that family land.
Yeah.
And so therefore it's just sitting there doing nothing. You can be growing acres and acres of food, but we like the convenience of the city.
Yeah. Well,
Convenience of our enemy.
I was
Yeah.
talking to somebody one time, and this brother gonna tell me. He said, "Well, you know, we got the markets here. We got some extremely good meat markets here, and this was in the Detroit area. And they were telling me how they got these extremely good meat markets. You know, you talking about the Easter market, downtown Detroit, and all this and stuff. Well, what happens if there's some type of food crisis? Those are only meat markets around. Cause I know Michigan, it ain't a whole lot of farms around the Detroit area. There ain't a whole lot of farms around any of those areas. You got to go way out to get to any of that kind of stuff. So where do you think all that stuff is gonna come from? What you gonna do if something happens in society and you can't go to the meat market and get your meats from the meat market anymore? What are you gonna do? You gonna quickly become a vegetarian, you know, or you gonna quickly start growing your own food? You gonna quickly have to do something.
Either that, you're gonna be eating grass or something.
Exactly.
But if it's in the wintertime, ain't gonna be no grass to eat.
Yeah, you're gonna be eating hay.
If you ain't gather no hay in the summer, you ain't gonna be eating that.
Exactly.
You're gonna be eating snow
They gonna be eating
cones.
Snow cones.
You can't eat that now because it's not real snow.
Exactly. Yeah. Tell me about it. So basically, just think about what we're talking here. I'm just trying to create something in you, cause something in you that's gonna make you go and research and start making a change in your diet. Start making a change in the things that you're eating, and just research some of these chemicals that's in our foods. And I know I've heard people say this too, you know, just like I said, they'll say things like, well, you're going to die from something.
But nobody feels that way though when they own the deathbed and they're in the hospital.
Yeah, when you're on your deathbed, you don't think
Seeing
that way.
ghosts talking to them and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Now imagine that person laying in the hospital about ready to die. You go in there and say, well, you know, you said that you got to die from something, right? So it's just your time.
Well, don't be talking negative.
You were talking negative first.
Exactly.
Think
So-
about this stuff before that time.
Before that
Before
time.
you get the visit from the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, exactly. Before you get that visit, you know, start making a move toward eating healthy, looking at the items that you're buying. And for the life of me, I still can't understand going to some of these fast food restaurants. I mean, these fast food restaurants, they got videos on the internet where people have food stored from places like McDonald's and other places, and this stuff isn't even getting any bacteria on it. Been sitting for 10 years and it won't rot. Now, if bacteria won't eat it,
Why are
should
exactly, if the bacteria won't eat it, you shouldn't eat it. You know? And it's another thing too is I know black folk out there, y'all love y'all some KFC, right? KFC is packed with MSG.
You see?
KFC, MSG. You know? You gotta keep away from KFC. KFC even put MSG in their mashed potatoes.
And they don't even have to.
Exactly. You see? So
Fry your own chicken.
Fry your own chicken.
Get better results.
With some lemon pepper. It tastes good, y'all.
Yeah. So on that note, you all do your own research into this food. Remember what the scripture says. If you be a person giving into appetite,
put a knife
to your own throat. Because that's really what you're doing. Shalom.
Shalom.